Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Shaka Hislop and Stevie Nicol. Gav Marcotti will be with us shortly. Truth be told, we're going to start today's show with the Milan Derby and then talk a little bit about Liverpool, Fulham and Chelsea. But then Lionel Messi thought that he won top billing. Real Betis taking on Barcelona. Messi was sublime in this match. He'd opened the score in the 18th minute.
It's a beautiful shot, it's accurate, it's got pace. You would expect the goalkeeper to save it on his side, but, I mean, look at the accuracy.
And some nice play from Barca throughout this game. Ter Stegen playing it into Jordi Alba, who finds Arturo Vidal, who in turn finds Messi. Luis Suarez, though, straight at the goalkeeper.
Not your best attempt.
There'll be more on Suarez a little later on. Not before, though, Messi gets his and Barcelona's second.
It's a really nice finish by Lionel Messi. It's a great ball by Luis Suarez to pick him out with the little back heel. Messi still got a lot to do with this. Out-muscles, out-paces defenders, and then that deft touch.
Ready for 3 minutes of Suarez madness here.
I mean, it's not a surprise. He has this in his armoury that now and again he just looks as though he's not a centre-forward.
Here, again, you didn't really feel convinced he was going to score as he puts it wide. But then he does this.
It's crazy from Luis Suarez what you saw moments before. After those two misses, you pick the ball up just inside the opposition half, numbers all around you, and you do that.
And then Messi does this.
Oh.
So if you're Suarez, you're thinking, by the way, what a goal that is. And then, no surprise. I mean, look at this. It's just delicious is what it is. He's on another planet.
Messi then with his hat-trick. By the way, Real Betis supporters gave him a standing ovation after he scored that, saying that's the biggest ovation that he's heard at an away ground during his career. He's now just one hat-trick of Cristiano Ronaldo. When it comes to La Liga threes, he will almost certainly eclipse that. Meanwhile, a lot of people have been tweeting in about this after this. Why do people still get compared to Messi? He's clearly better than anyone else by a mile. Talk about that Messi hat-trick, that free kick and that third goal. He's doing that week in and week out, dropping 10 out of 10 performances. I made my dog see that third goal, and he's a wolf now. How is it still debatable to call him the greatest of all time? I don't particularly want to get into that debate because we haven't got too much time. But when you see him put in that sort of show, look, it's cliche, but it's almost like a privilege, isn't it? To be around, to be able to watch that.
Well, he looks at the game differently than the rest of us. You know, he sees things that we don't see or wouldn't even consider, one, if it's possible, and even attempting it.
Yeah.
I mean, his last goal is...
How difficult is that?
Oh, dear. I mean, is there anybody else that's ever played the game could do that so well? I'm not quite sure.
How easy does he make it look, though?
Yeah.
That's almost as frightening as not only is it a difficult skill to execute, but he makes it look as though he's playing on the playground with a couple of his friends and hardly breaking a sweat. Let me just say, as much as we continue to draw comparisons and the tweets kind of allude to that, we're living in a time here where we're seeing two players execute at the highest level of football in a way that I don't think any other generation has been privileged to. And I think we're doing both of them a disservice by every time they do something magical, somehow it becomes a discussion between the two. But you don't get to see things like this, well, very often. We're a privileged few. Let's enjoy it.
There's no saying in football, generally, with football players. Just stick to what you do. Stick to what you can and can't do. Yeah. That doesn't apply to this guy, because he can do anything.
It's a sensational performance. Barca are going to win the league again, of course, this season. Yeah, you take a look at La Liga standings. I know, spoiler alert, but they are 10 points clear of Atletico Madrid. They're looking to make it 8 wins in the last 11 campaigns, and this could even break the record of the 2012-13 season where they beat Real Madrid with a 15-point gap. Meanwhile, what a Milan Derby we saw as well at San Siro. AC Milan taking on Inter. Inter looking to do the double over their city rivals. Milan, big favourites going into this. What did Bonetti say yesterday? You could only see an AC Milan win, no question.
And we all agreed with him.
Yeah, well, that was foolish on your part because 3 minutes in, Vecino makes it 1-0.
Well, he does well here. This ball bounces up awkwardly. It's a nice little ball across, headed back across goal, and that's a tough skill, that, but manages to get it into the roof of the net.
So 1-0 the score, so we take it into the second half. Stefan de Vrij, they're making it 2-0 to Inter.
Yeah, a little short corner routine that somehow disorients AC Milan, and de Vrij, free header from that range, makes no mistake.
What a second half this turned out to be. Bakayoko will make it 2-1.
And what a header it is as well. I mean, just too much power on it. Keeper can't get anywhere near it.
And then with 10 minutes after that, the referee goes down in the process of awarding a penalty.
Yeah, the ref falls down and means he blows the whistle a little bit later than he should. But when you see it, Alejo, what are you doing? Just hanging a leg out. It's cheap. It's a penalty rightly given.
Martinez then steps up 3-1. However, Milan get themselves back into the game just 5 minutes later. All scrambles around, but in the end, it's 3-2.
2 yards out, just smash it. Exactly what goalkeeper knows absolutely nothing about that. And then what a finish. Masuachi.
Then, with 4 minutes to go, Piatek, of course, being very much the darling for Milan. Couldn't, though, find the net here.
They're trying to be clever, invent something from a difficult angle. Just doesn't pull it off.
Into injury time. Handanovic keeping it 3-2.
Well, he may not have not known anything about the earlier strike, but this, yes. I mean, he just gets his arm up, arms it away.
And then in the 96th minute, Milan looking for that equaliser. With the ball cleared away.
D'Ambrosio does really well at the near post. Stays big, stays strong.
Inter Milan 3, AC Milan 2 then is how it finishes. Gab Marcotti, what a brilliant match.
Tremendous game, really had everything, end-to-end, excitement, drama. You had Frank Kessie and Lucas Biglia nearly getting into a fist fight. You had that on the Milan bench. You had that tremendous goal line clearance from D'Ambrosio, by the way. Notice how he's clearly paranoid about handball. If you notice the way he jumps out with his arms squarely behind him. It had everything, and I think most of all, it had a statement from Spalletti where on his day, he gets his tactics right. He gets the players motivated. They were totally dejected after the Europa League and the Icardi affair and whatever else. And they go out and they get a huge, huge result. Question now is, can they build on it?
Gab, so many talking points from this, but we haven't got much time. And unfortunately, the one that I want to ask you about is Kessie and Biglia, who've both come out and apologised afterwards. What on earth were they fighting about? What was all this about?
Well, it's funny, Gattuso made a big deal after the game of this. He said, you know, it hurts that we lost the game. It also hurts me even more seeing 2 of my players getting into a fight on the bench. Apparently, all it was after the game, he brought them both out to explain themselves. It was like being back in school. And Kessie said, I had so much adrenaline. I was angry when I came off the pitch. I was fuming. Lucas Biglia, obviously a veteran, told me to calm down. I had words with him. It got out of hand. I want to apologize. So it ends there. And I think message to football clubs, when this kind of stuff goes on, and it will happen occasionally, just deal with it straight away. No big deal. Apologize. Move on.
A significant win for Inter with regards to the race for the top 4. 2 points clear now of Milan. Meanwhile, Juventus lose their first league game of the season. Just 15 points now ahead of Napoli after that 2-0 defeat against Genoa. Right in the Premier League, Liverpool had the chance to go top of the table with Manchester City, of course, preoccupied with the FA Cup. They were taking on strugglers at Fulham and take the lead in the 26th minute. Informed Mane is on fire at the moment.
Yeah, it's good football between Mane and Firmino. Mane with the ball in behind, Firmino with a cut back to Mane, and he slots it home.
It was a comedy of errors, though, that led to Fulham's equaliser. Milner slices it, Van Dijk's header into Alisson, and then Babel is there to hit it home to an empty net.
Three of Liverpool's more reliable players make a mess of this one. First Milner with his slice, Van Dijk's header could be a little firmer, and then Alisson still has an opportunity to pick that up. It means putting his head in where it hurts. He doesn't.
But then 6 minutes later, Rico with the foul on Mane. Penalty.
Well, he makes a complete mess of this back pass from Salah, and then really has a brain freeze, grabs Mane, pulls him down, 100% penalty. And James Milner, calm as you like, nice little dink up the middle.
So big 3 points for Liverpool. James Milner, of course, was substituted in during the second half, said the gaffer told me to come on and calm it down, and the first thing I do is slice it and put Virgil under pressure, which wasn't ideal, but boy, is he clutched from the penalty spot. 13 of his last 14 penalties have found the back of the net. It wasn't the sort of game that blows the mind for Liverpool supporters. It is 3 points, but what I'm sure will continue to concern them is Mohamed Salah's lack of form. Just 4 out of 10, according to Dave Usher, our ESPN FC writer. And you take a look and compare the stats, there's no questioning. He has dropped off significantly when compared to last season. And yes, the bar was set high, but this time last year had 35 goals, this time just 20. Steve, it's got to be a concern because it just keeps happening.
Yeah, you know, if people hear us talking about confidence, and when you don't have confidence, it affects you in so many ways. You know, you overthink things. You know, you're trying to take people on, you're trying to do step overs, you're thinking about your first touch. You're just complicating everything for yourself. And the longer you go and the longer you struggle, the harder it gets, regardless of how much effort you put into changing it. It really is down to confidence.
But it's a win for Liverpool, and it's a win that puts them 2 points clear at the top of the table. They have 7 games remaining. Manchester City with 8 matches, and according to the bookies, Manchester City are still huge favourites. 5-2 on Liverpool at 2-1. Is that fair, Steve? Is that a bit disrespectful to Liverpool?
No, I think Manchester City are favourites, and for me, it's one main reason, and that is they have more goal scorers.
Right.
You know, we're talking about Salah. He can't hit a barn door from 2 yards right now. Firmino, his job isn't really to score goals, but he can give you a few. And so without Mane right now, where are the goals coming from? So Man City have got so many more goal scorers. That's what makes them favourites for me.
The old cliche is you prefer to have the points and the games, but when City are playing as well as they are, you're not quite sure who's stopping them. And as much as Liverpool picked up a win today, let's remind ourselves it's against Fulham. I still don't feel that Liverpool have looked all that convincing. And without the goals of Mohamed Salah, you just wonder exactly if Mane can carry this load entirely on his own. I don't think so. I think the bookies have got this right as well.
Meanwhile, United, of course, Arsenal and Spurs not in league action this weekend. They're all supporting Everton, hoping they could do them a favour with regards to the race for the top 4 as they are playing host to Chelsea. Chelsea definitely started the better of the 2 sides. Eden Hazard here denied by the post.
Well, he's denied by the post, but I mean, look at the blue jerseys in front of him. It gets a deflection. I think Pickford's got it covered, but it came off the post anyway.
Everton poor in the first half. Came out, though, after the break, significantly better and would take the lead thanks to Richarlison.
It's a good header in the first place, and then defender and goalkeeper get themselves in each other's way. Richarlison just picking up the pieces.
Pickford had a shocker last weekend against Newcastle, trying to make amends here. Good save here to deny Higuain.
Yeah, I mean, it was the only real thing that Higuain did, and it brought out a great save.
20 minutes to go, penalty to Everton. Alonso with the foul.
Yeah, this is simply ridiculous from Marcos Alonso. He just hangs a leg out here with no real conviction. This is a defender defending in his own box, and he does that. Referee right to point to the spot, so Goodson steps up, good save Kepa, but then he just taps in.
Everton 2, Chelsea 0. Chelsea very much the big talking point after this game. And just remember how well they started this season. It was 12 matches, no defeats in the league. Since then, though, 18 league games, 7 of them ended with a Chelsea loss. You take a look at the stats, and it's difficult to argue, really, that Chelsea deserved too much from this game, despite the fact they were quite bright in the first half. It's interesting, though, what Sarri had to say after the match. on that loss, saying, I don't know, and the players don't know what happened in the second half. I cannot explain it. We played the best first half in the season, and we could have scored 4 or 5, and then suddenly we stopped playing. It's very strange. We didn't defend at the start of the second half. We changed the system, but it was the same. The problem was mental on the pitch, so the system and the tactics are not important. Obviously, the standout sentence is that we played the best first half in the season. We could have scored 4 or 5.
What game was he watching?
They were good. They were good first half.
No, they were the best side.
Yeah.
They were absolutely, no question, 100% the best side. Loads of possession, but they never looked like scoring. You know, we've just done highlights there, and we've got a shot from Hazard from 20 yards with 4 defenders in front of him. I mean, that's kind of what the first half was all about. Honestly, Chelsea to me looked like a schoolboy team. You know, when you're a kid and you've got one great player in your team and you just give him the ball?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like with Hazard. He's the only one that seems to be... Well, everybody's looking to him to do something. And the rest of the team, I mean, defensively, I mean, they're a bit of a shambles, to be honest.
To answer what Mauricio Sarri is asking, what happened was half-time came along and both managers had to give their half-time team talks. You cannot dominate a team like Chelsea did against Everton in the first half, and then have that bigger turnaround. That's where you earn your money. You set your team up to go out, and then you tinker and you make things right, or you keep things going right at half-time. Marco Silva changes whatever he says in the changing room. Everton come out a whole lot different. Chelsea look a whole lot poorer. That's what happened. You failed at half-time.
Let's just take a look now at what that means regarding the race for the top 4. And Everton really did the other boys a favour. Chelsea remain then 6, just 1 though adrift of Manchester United. 3 of Arsenal, who are, of course, 1 behind Spurs. According to the bookies, Spurs and Arsenal are the 2 favourites to make it into the Champions League. From a Chelsea perspective, are we almost having the conversation now that it could be better for them to focus on the Europa League because they could be more likely to get into the Champions League via that, considering the draw that they have, compared to domestically?
I don't think so, no. I mean, Sarri certainly can't think that way because if he does, he might lose his job.
But what do you think, Stevie, if I say which is more likely?
Well, they're more likely to win the Europa League. They're not getting in the top 4.
No?
No, they're not getting in the top 4. They right now, they seem to relish playing in the Europa League. The movement and the chemistry and everything seems to be there. But as soon as you step on the field in the Premier League, it goes away. And the significant thing about that is in the Premier League, he goes back to the team with the Bartleys and the Kovacic's in the Premier League that doesn't work, and in the Europa League, he plays all the other guys. Your Adus. And they're fantastic. So why would he not do that in the Premier League?
Are you as definitive Chelsea won't finish top 4?
Yeah, I don't think Chelsea will finish in top 4. I think they have a better chance in the Europa League, especially with Arsenal and Napoli drawing each other. And they continue to make hard work of the Premier League for the reasons that Stevie mentions. I'm not sure how you put a team out in the Europa League that plays that well, that is that dominant, and then you come back to this team that it continues to just hemorrhage points and not shake things up. Jorginho came off in, the 75th minute? Change things. Give yourself a chance of winning these games and getting yourself back into the top 4. Otherwise, just, raise your towel and say, I'm going all in Europa League.
Meanwhile, away from the league, we had the other FA Cup quarter-final today. Millwall are in the second tier of English football, taking on Premier League side Brighton. Not a lot really happened
a bit young, isn't she?
Until the 70th minute. Alex Pearce making it 1-0 to Millwall.
It doesn't get much more simple than that, does it? Just smash it in the box, make a run and head it straight home.
9 minutes later, Millwall would make it 2-0.
Jed Wallace does really well down this right-hand side. Really not sure about the Brighton defending. Make an absolute mess of it. And then Tisa O'Brien comes in around his defender. He wanted to get there first. Taps in.
Now, late drama. 88th minute, 2-0. A lifeline. Locadia making it 2-1.
Yeah, it's a great finish.
And then, in the 95th minute...
Oh, no. Shaka, tell me. Explain this one.
David Martin.
Come on.
I can't.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
honestly can't.
That's horrendous.
So, of course, no replays now in the FA Cup. 2-2 would mean we go to extra time. Nothing would happen. We go to penalties. It's 4-4. Lewis Dunk scores for Brighton. Jake Cooper then must score. Ay. So Millwall out after being 2-0 up in the 89th minute. Brighton book a place in the semi-finals, and they will face Manchester City at Wembley. In the other semi-final, it is Watford against Wolves. Manchester City, big favourites then to win the FA Cup, as they are the Premier League and the Champions League as well. For them to do the quadruple, 6-1. Meanwhile, in the Bundesliga, Bayern Munich taking on Mainz. It was a rubbish week, of course, of Bayern getting knocked out at home by Liverpool. Such a lacklustre way in the Champions League. 3 minutes into this one, though, Lewandowski makes it 1-0.
I mean, it's a beautiful finish from Lewandowski. His ball's thrown in from Alaba. And look at that, outside of the right peg, super finish.
Munich completely dominated this game. James Rodriguez making it 2-0.
Just following in late and smashing home from penalty spot-ish range.
A nice individual goal here from Kingsley Coman to make it 3-0.
Yeah, it's a good job he scored. He's got 3 other teammates in the box, but goes for the bottom corner. That's great execution, look at that. Keeper can't get near it.
6 minutes into the second half. James gets his second and Bayern's fourth.
Yeah, just allowed to run along the top of that box. Mainz have men back, but nobody gets close, or certainly not close enough. And then that's a really good finish.
And then James would get his hat-trick. He was completely anonymous against Liverpool, but makes it 5-0 here.
Well, I mean, you got to praise him. It's a great hat-trick. It's a lovely way to get it with a little dink, but just a little bit too late.
Meanwhile, special day for Alphonso Davies, the Canadian international, getting his first goal for Bayern.
And just following in and takes this really well. Inside of the foot, high into the roof of the net. Good finish, especially when you consider it's his first.
And it's significant as well with regards to their goal difference. Bayern level on points with Dortmund, but they do have a much better goal difference, which could prove important come the end of the season. PSG don't have that worries. They will win the league. They were taking on Marseille today. Marseille really playing for some sort of pride. On the stroke of half-time, Angel Di Maria finds Kylian Mbappe, makes it 1-0.
Just a measured finish, isn't it? It was only going one place, and it was accurate.
However, pretty much right out of the traps in the second half, Valery Germain makes it 1-1.
And Lucas Ocampo, who cuts it inside. I'm not sure if Germain is the intended target, but he reacts quickest off the deflection and then finds that bottom corner against the green.
It would only stay level for about 9 minutes before Angel Di Maria makes it 2-1.
Yeah, again, it's a good calculated finish. Angel Di Maria has a look up, decides to go on his own, and picks out that bottom corner.
Now, a goalkeeper's allowed to do this, Shaq?
Well,
Hey, if you're going to get sent off, do it properly.
yeah. And make sure you're well outside of the box. Mandanda is so desperately short here. And then just commits and maybe the ref didn't see it, Steve.
Yeah, right.
Oh, brilliant. Di Maria, though.
Right, you're going to tell me the goalie wasn't warmed up properly.
It's a good free kick.
20 points then. PSG's lead over Lille in Liga 1. To Serie A, Genoa taking on Juventus. Of course, a great result for them midweek. No Cristiano Ronaldo, though, in the side for this clash, and they would indeed miss him. 5 minutes into the second half. Penalty not given, and VAR not consulted.
It looks like a penalty to me. I mean, he uses 2 hands to push Mandzukic away.
Apparently not, Stephen. And then, with 18 minutes to go, Serraro makes it 1-0 to the hosts.
Yeah, the goalkeeper really should have done better here. Serrao just see what he's going for, is shaping, and Perrin just seems to make an absolute mess of that.
9 minutes to go in the game, and it's Pandev who makes it 2-0 Genoa.
Good finish. Doesn't have a lot to shoot at. Gets it in that bottom corner right here. You don't really fancy him, but wow. Gets it past the keeper.
So Juve will not go the whole season unbeaten in the league. Their first loss of this Serie A campaign. Meanwhile, Napoli taking on Udinese. The big moment of the game would come here. 5 minutes in, Ospina there, just getting caught in the head. He did, though, stay in the game. More on him in a moment. 12 minutes later, Udinese makes it 1-0.
Seriously, why would you keep him in the game? Madness.
10 minutes later, Jose Callejon makes it 2-0.
Yeah, just stabs his finish into the ground a little bit, which deceives the keeper. Good ball by Dries Mertens to pick him out, and then luckily bounce.
4 minutes later, Kevin Lasagna makes it 2-1.
Oh. He gets lucky there. Mishits this into the ground, and it fools Ospina.
Now, 5 minutes later, Fofana makes it 2-2. But then, just after that, this is the real concern. Ospina collapses on the ground. Doctors and the stretchers immediately called on. He would be taken to hospital. Gab with us in a moment to give us an update on his condition. 57 minutes in, though, Milik makes it 3-2. And then Dries Mertens gets the fourth to seal the win for Napoli, as they would beat Udinese by 4-2. But of course, Gab, really, the result was eclipsed by those scenes of Ospina being stretchered off, as I mentioned, taken to hospital. It seems like the news is positive.
Yeah, he was taken to hospital. He's done a CAT scan. There's absolutely no signs of concussion. The doctor gave his version of events that, you know, when he first came out to treat him, there was only a fairly deep wound. Obviously, they patched him up. He stayed on the pitch. At no point did he actually lose consciousness. But what started happening, or the theory that they put forward, was when you saw him collapse like that, it was simply he lost so much blood. He had a loss of blood pressure as well to go with it, and that's where the scare came from. Doctor saying that, you know, we were going to stitch him up at halftime. He wanted to continue playing, but clearly he didn't realize how much blood he was actually losing. But fortunately, no signs at all of concussion.
And what's the reaction in Italy been to this, Gab?
I mean, there's obviously a ton of awareness around head injury, a ton of awareness around footballers suffering serious injuries while playing. I'm sure there's going to be an investigation. From their perspective, you know, Napoli say the doctor went out the first time and said he had a deep cut. He didn't show any signs whatsoever of concussion in sort of the visual test that they do. Then he sort of second-guessed himself when he collapsed. But then I think he was extremely relieved when the CAT scan showed that there was, in fact, no concussion, and that it was simply a case of him having an extremely deep and bloody cut. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I also kind of wonder, if you have a cut where you're bleeding so much, should you be on a football pitch? But I guess that's something you're going to need to review.
Indeed, Gab. Thank you very much for that. Just a reminder, I know we showed you this before, Juve 15 points clear of Napoli, who are 7 ahead of Inter. AC Milan make up that fourth spot. Of course, Roma yesterday